All right, everybody, welcome back to Swahili Nation One Africa SNOA. I am glad and grateful to be back here. Let me just say Happy New Year to everybody. It's still January, so it's still New Year. And we just thank God for giving us this opportunity to be here today. And this is very special because I haven't done this kind of conversation for so long. It has been a very long time for me to have a conversation with just another colleague, another African who are doing actually amazing things, for the continent, for the motherland Africa. I haven't done this for so long time, but today I have a privilege to do this session with one of our African brothers who I never met before. We only met through WhatsApp or through social media, but today we are all here and we're gonna get to know one another, And I think you guys have already seen the title, what we're gonna talk about today. I think one of the things that everybody should know is that the conversations that we're going to have today, it is very important for our continent. You guys, you know that we have a petition called One Africa right now, and you can actually sign that petition right now. If you haven't done it yet, the link is in the description. You go there, you're going to find one link called sign the petition One Africa right now. So this petition is all about how can we bring One Africa, not 60 years from now, but how can we bring it today? How can we bring it tomorrow? How can we bring it in our generation right now? We don't have to wait. We don't have 40 years to wait for One Africa to happen. A lot of things are happening today in the continent, and we need to act as soon as we can to unite our continent, the motherland, because everything that is happening in the continent is not pleasing, right? And the only solution, one of the solutions that we could actually stop all this chaos and all this stuff that are happening in the continent is by Africa to come together and unite and being one thing. So there's different practical ways. Every time when I talk about uniting Africa, people are asking me that, you just talk about these things. What are the practical ways? So today in this conversation, we're going to talk about the practical way, one of the practical ways that we can unite our continent. So we actually listed them down in our petition, One Africa right now. You guys can go, you can read and you can sign that. We have talked about a single passport, to have a common passport for everybody. We have spoken about a single call code for the entire continent. We have spoken about to have a one army. We have spoken about having one currency. We have spoken about removing visas and all these borders that are actually dividing us. Right now, I'll tell you, one of these days I'll come here to have a conversation about the scramble of East Africa. In the continent of Africa, actually, East Africa is one of the strongest union that we have, compared to the West. No offense, my brother is from the West here today. We're going to talk about that. Compared to the West or North or South, East Africa is one of the very strongest union we have in the continent. But you know what is happening right now in the eastern side of Africa? East Africa is actually crumbling. You have Burundi and Rwanda, they're not okay, so they close their border. You have Congo and Rwanda, they're not okay. Okay, you have Kenya and Tanzania, constantly they have these tensions going on, little tensions are happening. If you look at, you have Somalia and Ethiopia right now. It's not okay because Somalia right now is the eastern side of Africa. Ethiopia is East Africa as well, even though it's not in the organization, but it's East Africa, right? So you have all these countries in the eastern side of Africa. They're actually quarreling between one another. And then you have Kenya, who is basically right now is kind of like against the East Africa community in general. Woe to William Ruto. Okay, so you have all these countries in the East Africa. They're actually crumbling right now. It's the conversation that I've been thinking at the beginning of this year. We need to have it. So probably tomorrow or the days to come, we're going to have that conversation. But what is happening right now in the eastern side of Africa is not beautiful. But the thing is not happening just in the eastern side of Africa. It's happening in the West. It's happening in the South. It's happening all over the continent. And the continent, instead for us to start talking about how can we unite our people, how can we come together as one, how can we remove these borders? You have Rwanda and Burundi. You have Burundi are blocking the borders right now because they're accusing Rwanda for something. Okay, you have Congo and Rwanda, they're accusing each other. But all the time when you look at these things, we always have somebody out there outside of Africa who is pulling our strings for us to keep being divided. So the new year, 1 year you feel like you're making a lot of steps ahead, but then another year you feel like you're going backward. Things are not moving forward. Do you think we're going to have a strong East African community? And one of the reasons it was for East African community to have a single currency this year, a single army, which is already there, You have seen that Congo, they kicked out the East African army from Kenya. They kicked them away when they're having election. They say, you guys, get out of here. We don't need you. But this is supposed to be one. We're supposed to be operating as one people. But what is happening is disintegration, division. We try to work so hard to unite our people, but we are going backward. Our people are not coming together. So this is going on and on in the continent for the past 60 years. But we, as the youth of Africa, we don't have any position in the government, but we are tired of seeing our people being killed because of whatever that is happening. We are tired of seeing things are not moving forward. We are tired of always just talking about development of Africa, development of the continent. We know the continent has money. We know we have a lot of money, but why we cannot break out from these chains that we have today? So conversation today, we're going to talk about this movement, these brothers. I'll tell you the truth, man. I'm going to get to know these brothers right now, but we're going to talk about their movement. They're called ACUP, African Continental Unit Party. We're going to talk about it and their initiative or their movement to actually fighting and to want a single currency of Africa. And surprisingly, these guys are serious with the job because they have been actually, how can I say the word? I forgot the word. They've been demonstrating and they've been, I'm missing the word, Kwame. I'm missing the word. But they've been kind of like organizing all these rallies. I could call like them rallies, right? I've been organizing and trying to actually push the government to push Africa that, hey, this is the time to have a single currency. They've been organizing in different countries in Africa. You guys will get to know very soon. I'm going to bring my brother here, so we'll talk about it. They've been organizing and actually doing it practically. So while we have prepared, the petition is going on, we have our brothers that are actually organizing and trying to fight for a single currency of Africa. So me as a Pan-Africanist, me as someone that believes in the oneness in our continent, you know, why not joining our hands? When you find people who have genuine motives to unite our people by bringing a single currency to the continent, because that is the solution to Africa's economy. The solution is not BRIC currency. The solution is not euro, it's not dollar, but the solution is to find our own currency that it will compete with the rest of currency. If they're going to have BRIC currency, oh, cool, you just have it. But we need to have our own currency that we can stand with. We need to have our own currency that can defend us, right? So that's one of the conversations that you're going to have with my brother today. So ladies and gentlemen, without wasting time, I'm just going to have a little word of prayer before I begin this session as our custom. And I'm going to be bringing my brother here to have this conversation. Let me pray a little quick. God, I thank you for today. Thank you for granting this time and opportunity to come here as brothers from all over the continent and to just talk about the destiny, to talk about the current situation of this continent, but most importantly, to figure out the ways forward. How can we break out from where we are today? How can we transform this continent? How can we move from victimizing ourselves and actually take initiative, being responsible with the highest amount of discipline and excellence in whatever we do, God, to bring about change in this continent. So I pray for your wisdom and for your spirit to guide us from the beginning of this conversation all the way to the end. In your precious name, Christ, I pray. Amen and amen. So guys, let me just say this. If you're joining right now, please hold this link and share with somebody. Don't be selfish. Remember, this is the year of excellence. And the excellence, this is where it begins, right? So don't be selfish. Like this stream, copy the link and share with somebody. And also prepare your questions. We have a couple questions prepared here, but prepare your questions. Maybe towards the end of this session, you guys will have an opportunity as well to bring in your questions about after you hear about this movement, after you hear about this organization. And you guys can bring in your questions as well to ask 1, 2, 3. Right, so please copy this link, share with neighbor, share whatever you can. So as I'm bringing my brother here, Kwame Gonza, into the channel, all of us may get to hear our brothers and sisters. I always say this, that I always give people a benefit of a doubt to have a conversation and to try to talk and to see, you know, where we're going to get at the end of the day. You know, at the end of the day, we all want the best for Africa. And we are all affected when something is not going right in the continent, right? So please copy this link and share with somebody, and you'll be doing us a favor and even yourself a favor as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting time, let me bring in my brother, Kwame Gonza. Kwame, what's up, brother?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, brother. Greetings to you. Greetings to everyone. Greetings
Yeah.
out there to your audience. I'm really so happy to be part of this platform. Uh,
Yeah.
great platform. I've been hearing about you, my brother,
Yeah.
and great work you've been doing for this our continent. You know, it
Yeah.
is phenomenal. It is absolutely admirable what you are doing for our continent. So I just want to greet the Swahili nation out there, everyone who's on the platform, you know, call other people so that they can be part of this broadcast, because this is very important. What we are going to talk about today is extremely important.
Yeah.
Now, what we are going to talk about is action. It's not just people who are talking about things that they are not doing. We have been in Pan-Africanism. We have been pushing Pan-Africanism for the last 10 years. Okay, more than 10 years. Some of our group has been pushing more than 15 years. Other people, they have
Wow.
experience of more than 20 years. So we are talking about people who are, you know, are on the ground and are active. We have projects which we are even pushing with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We have peaceful demonstrations, like you've mentioned, the campaigns going on. We are in different countries or across the African continent. So that is what the Africa Continental Unity Party is about. So it is about redefining what Africa is supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, we came together is a group of especially young people, but this does not mean we don't have the elders. We have the elders in there to advise the Africa Continental Unity Party in its journey, our movement in its journey, which it is taking in order for us to build a new Africa, because we understand that what our continent has been facing is the challenge of lack of power, because we lack power as a people. That is why you see that when our heads of state go to the United Nations, for example, United Nations General Assembly, they are disrespected. You know, the room is empty. They are speaking to empty rooms. The African people, people of African descent, George Floyd, they kill them however they want. So we find that we, the Black people, are not respected, whether it is in China, whether it is in India. So all this is the problem of lack of power. So this is what the SCUP has diagnosed and identified, that now we have to build a power base. So that is the main objective of the SCUP, and then we'll build it from there, as we are going to see later. So if you are out there, you're watching Swahili Nation out here, I want to invite you to invite other people so that we can have this powerful discussion. Thank you, my brother, for the great work you are doing, and thank you for having me. Today, I'm really excited to be part of this platform.
Appreciate, Kwame. Appreciate. I know that we have other guests. Allow me to bring them a little bit later of this session. Is that okay?
That's
Exactly. And also feel free to use the private chat. We have a private chat for anything. You can just type in there, and we'll be able to communicate here in the private set. Appreciate so much, Kwame. Kwame, let me just start by saying this, man, you're welcome. And I see the spirit of Kwame Nkrumah in you. I wish, if I go to Ghana, whenever I go to other country, I give myself names from that country. So I think when I go to Ghana, I'll have a Kwame name as well. And it's gonna be amazing. We are from the same family, man. Our daddy is one, Kwame Nkrumah, the daddy of Africa. Appreciate my brother. So let's start by this, man. I would love to know, first of all, yourself, Kwame Gonza. You started this movement. You started this this organization, ACUP. Before talking about what is ACUP, I just want to know the spirit behind it. What really triggered for you to start ACUP as you connect with the genesis of ACUP? Like, what is all about?
Yeah. So basically, the SCUP, I did not start it myself. I came and joined, like I said, the group was started. The movement was started by a group of people, a group of young people who identified a problem on the continent. And when this problem was identified, the fundamental problems, because, you know, normally people can talk about problems and say corruption is the problem, or maybe human rights is the problem, or maybe the chickens are the problem, or, you know, all these kind of things. But there is, in many cases, a fundamental problem that is affecting society. You can see in one speech when President Museveni was speaking at the World Economic Forum, he came and said, and I've seen you play President Museveni's speeches a couple of times, and he said that when the World Bank and the IMF used to come to his country, Uganda, they would tell him to concentrate on human rights, and another time they will say children's rights, another time they will say women's rights. But the fundamental problems of society were not being addressed. Problems like infrastructure, because if you're talking about building an economy, then you have to build infrastructure. Because infrastructure is the basis of economic activity, is the platform on which economic activity takes place. And then people develop from there, because now they are able to carry out trade. Then you can be able to take care of yourself. People can be able to fish for themselves so that people will not fish for themselves. And then you don't need even somebody to come out from Europe, from the United States or Australia to come and tell you human rights, because you already know what to do. And you have taken care of the fundamental problems that are affecting society, because most of the problems, the smaller problems, social problems, like, for example, prostitution and robbery, they emanate from lack of economic activity, lack of social upward, what we call upward social economic mobility. So when this is solved, when you build the infrastructure, you can see that you have solved the majority of the problems. Now, I don't want to go so much in that. What the SCUP identified is that our continent is lacking power. Now, a group of people came together. I joined them recently, and I understood that this is the movement that is going to take us where we want the continent to be. If you go back to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's work, when you look at books like the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, what Nkrumah recommends for the African continent is the formation of a party that is going to be like a vanguard party. When you go back to, for example, China, they formed the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, which led them to the revolution, and they were able to unify their, continent, their country, which was fragmented and was being aggressed. It was facing a lot of aggression from Europe and all these countries, Germany, Portugal, the United States, Britain, and all these. So Nkrumah, in the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, recommended that we must have a party as African people. We must have a party to which we, as African people, must belong, and this party will be able to unify all the African people and lead them to that revolution that we desire as African people. Because this party will be able to take the power for the people. So my brothers, when they formed this organization 3 years ago, because the SUP has been around for the last 3 years ago, I also, found them. I used to hear about them, that they are working on the ground. So they reached out to me and we spoke. And they say, we are looking for talented people. We are looking for people who are passionate about our continent, people who understand the price that is supposed to be paid for us to be able to liberate Africa. Regardless of what price is supposed to be paid, we should be willing to pay it. So when you talk about the Africa Continental Unity Party movement, these are people who understand that the price is supposed to be paid, and they are willing to pay that price to liberate the African continent. Not to go out there to beg that, we should beg a group of people to give us aid. We understand that we have the resources. And these resources which we have as a continent are supposed to be reorganized, and they are supposed to help us rebuild our continent. But those resources to be organized, you have to have power to one of the external, influences. You've spoken about here the external influences. That the external powers are always interfering in Africa. East African community was operating very well, but the interference is unbelievable. The whole of Africa right now, Ethiopia was very friendly to the neighbors. Now we have a lot of problems, and we see the United States in there interfering all the time. So all these are because we don't have a superpower on the African continent. So once we organize the power base, then all these things will be easier for us. So we are building on what Dr. Kwame definitely started and recommended, and that's what the SUP has identified.
Yeah, I want to ask you this. So SUP, is SUP a political party, or is just an organization that is founding people to come and to fight for the unity of Africa, or is it the political party that is looking forward to take over the countries in Africa? What is it all about?
So the SUP is a political movement.
It's a political movement, okay?
It is a political movement.
That's a
Now,
new one. Mhm.
that's the simplest word. That's the simplest way for me to
Yeah,
put it.
yeah,
What we are trying to do is that we are trying to go in these states, be present
yeah.
in these various states. Right now, we are
Uh,
present in Ghana. We are present in
uh,
South Africa. We are
uh,
present in Gambia. We are
uh,
present in Zambia. We are trying to register in Zambia. We are trying to register in, in South Africa. We are trying to
yeah,
register in Nigeria so that we can compete. We can have candidates who compete for
mm,
the elections. Now, for us, these are all organizing tools. This process of competing for these elections is an
mm,
organizing tool, but we are a revolutionary movement that we are
mhm,
not going to run politics in the normal way of things
yeah,
because we are focused on the whole African continent. We are not just focused on these
on one
small
country.
countries.
So
So
let
we
me,
want to start from the base and organize
yeah,
the people and tell them
yeah,
about the SCUP. And like I said, we understand that the work is a gigantic, the task is heavy, but in understanding, in appreciating the heaviness of this task, we have also accepted. This
yeah,
acceptance has been tempered. The understanding of the heaviness of this task for us has been tempered by our acceptance of the responsibility that comes
yeah,
with it.
yeah,
So for us, we have accepted that somebody has to pay the price. And we can't
yeah,
wait for another generation. So we think that some of us who have children, I have a daughter. So we think that some of us who have children, we have to leave a better Africa for these children.
yeah.
So
Uh,
regardless, Nkrumah said, Nkrumah mentioned that the secret to life is to have
yeah,
no fear.
mm,
So there's a small book which he wrote, it's called The Actions of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Now,
mm,
he said that the secret to life is to have
mm,
no fear. And this is someone who achieved so much for the continent and other
the
people all
continent.
across. So we
Yeah.
understand that there's risks, there's challenges, there's heaviness, but
Yeah.
this, for us, we have accepted the
All right.
responsibility.
All right. All right. Let me ask you this, Kwame. What does the ACUP? Because right now, as I'm saying, one of the things that I see all the time, and I think you can agree, we almost every single day or every single time, year, month, we have a new organization or new party in Africa that is being started, whether here in the continent, starting from here, or even from outside of the continent. We have until right now we have so many organizations, we have so many parties that they actually speak the same thing. You can start talking about even us, SNOA. You can talk about, a couple months ago when Kenya to launch the Pan African Institute by PLO Lumumba and some other people. Ghana, they were there to launch another one. We have this ACUP, you guys. We have EFF in South Africa. All the time, there's new organization, all these things started. Um, what is the difference with ACUP? Why does ACUP, and what's the difference ACUP is bringing to the continent, or the test is bringing to the continent that is not there yet? Or is SUP just like the same all these other organizational parties that we find in the continent right now? Because we want to be effective and want to be productive. But I think, and you can agree or disagree with me, but I think one of the reason why in Africa we are not really effective, because I feel like we have so many organizations, we have so many parties, all of us, we have the same vision, but we don't really want to interact with one another. So everybody's just working from their own corner, trying to find their own people to support them. So at the end of the day, we have the same mission, have the same goal, but we are pretty much divided because everybody wants to work their own, right? That's one of the major problem. And I feel like if all of us Africans, we come together and be like, all right, I do not care about my organization or the name, but what I want to see the betterment of this continent and our people. So let's come together and form something. I believe we could have reached maybe where we want to reach like long time ago, but it's taking so damn long time because it feels like everybody's just one. We don't really trust one another, if I can say. Like everybody wants to work from their own corner, but we all have the same mission and the same goal. You know what I'm saying? What would you say about SCUP? Just this is just very tiny question. I'd love to for you to reply just in short, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, it's a tiny question, but it's very important. It's a very important question. I would just like to first say that I've been in Pan-Africanism for the last 10 years. I've been practicing, and I came and I read Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, I read Marcus Garvey, and I read all the great Pan-Africanists, Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, all these great Black leaders who came to see that we have our dignity as African people or people of African descent restored. And of course, we have seen this, what you've spoken about. I feel it because myself, I've been to numerous Pan-African organizations, but when you reach somewhere, sometimes there's a feeling, there's a special feeling where you feel that this time I think I've reached the place. This is what I've been looking for. Now the SBUP is open to collaboration with other groups, and trust me, we are reaching out to other groups, to other organizations. We are extremely organized. As you are seeing, I'm not the one who reached out to you. We have someone who's responsible for our media, directorate. So he reached out to you, and this is the spirit that we are pushing right now, that we are trying to reach out to all Pan-Africanists and all African groups who think that they are contributing, they have something to contribute. And we are telling them that let us share, let us, come and bring on board what you have, and let us see the areas of cooperation. If it means signing treaties, we sign them. And fortunately for us, we don't only stop, on Pan-African groups. We also reach out to governments for us. That's the good thing about us. Once we identify that we see a government is Pan-African in orientation, for us we attempt and reach out to it to see how we can work with it. Now, this is what distinguishes the SCUP. Another thing is that the SCUP, we have men on the ground, we have people who are dedicated to this full time. You see, one of the things, the many years I've been through Pan-Africanism, one of the things I've identified is that people talk about Pan-Africanism, but you see that people are practicing it at a basis of what you can call free time, during free time, part time. Okay. But now the SCUP, the seriousness of the SCUP is that for us, we have people who are working with the directorate full time, and they are running the organization. This is the extent to which for us we have organized ourselves. When you talk about people like Nkrumah, because we pick a lot from what Nkrumah achieved and what he did. When he came back to Ghana in 1945, he came and started working as a full-time Pan-Africanist in organizing Ghana. So for us, we borrow from this, and we talk to people, we talk to great Pan-Africanists, we talk to veterans, we talk to elders, all those ones who can contribute to the movement and moving forward. We call them and then we talk to them. So this is the good thing about the SCUP or the Africa Continental Unity Party movement, that things are moving on the ground, and we are aggressive. We understand the task, we understand the challenge. We have set goals. We are working towards something that is very clear. I'll give you an example. Even though we have said that we have identified the core problem of the African continent, the lack of power, hence everyone comes and bullies. You have seen that US Africa Summit, you have seen Turkey Africa Summit, you have seen Russia Africa Summit, you have seen India Africa Summit. Even some of the smallest economies which are smaller than Africa's economy, like Turkey, for example, its economy is around $800 billion. Africa's economy is around $3.5 trillion. But Turkey, someone's African leaders. India, its economy is around $3.4 trillion. Almost we are on the same level. Our economy is around 3.5. So we are the same size of the economy. So all these small countries, they summon Africa and African heads of state because we don't have power. Now, we have identified that as a core problem. But aside the identification of that, we have set goals. For example, we have set our targets that we are going to reorganize these resources on the African continent. And of course, the most important resource is the human resource, 1.5 billion Africans. We have a GDP or economy of 3.5. We think that this is great capital because India is sending satellites to space. We are not sending, yet we are the same size of the economy. India has trains, it's manufacturing vehicles. We are not manufacturing, we are the same size of the economy. So these are the inefficiencies that we want to eliminate. Now, that GDP, the human capital, and then the material resources, these are the three important resources that we want to reorganize as SUP all across the African continent. Now, this will help us to achieve our set target. The target is for us to rebuild Africa in 20 years. Once we build the power base, in 20 years, we want to rebuild this continent to a GDP per capita of $22,000. Now, when you are talking about fully developed economies, $22,000, that is it. Now, many people, of course, when they hear this, they say this is unachievable. But for us, sometimes we laugh at them. We tell them that this is achievable. Because
it is achievable.
Yes,
I think the good question is, how are you going to achieve that? I think that is what you have to share with us.
Yes. So then we will come to that, to the issue of reorganizing the resources, because we identify that we have everything. So the African continent, we want to rebuild it to a GDP per capita of $22,000 in 20 years. And this is very possible because Dubai has done it, China has done it. So this is our target as the SUP, the Africa Continental Unity Party movement. And this is the reason why we are, inviting people that they should join and support, the party and make a contribution. Most of all, make a contribution. We are not coming to build it for you. We are trying to show you the possibility. What is the possibility? Because many Africans have lost hope. When you speak to Africans on the continent, you see them, you my brother, you have been all across our continent. All the experts of our continent, in the south, in the east, in the north, you have been everywhere. But you see that our people have lost hope. So what we are coming to do, the SUP is coming to do, is to show you the possibility. And that's why we are painting for you this picture. And when you go to countries like Gabon, you just pick up one country, Gabon. Gabon, already the GDP is around $14,000, 14,000 GDP per capita. So what we are talking about is very achievable in less than 20 years. So now when we achieve that with our population, imagine when you add the whole GDP of the African continent, what it is going to be. It's going to be $65 trillion for the African people. Now, this is bigger than all the other economies. It could be bigger than all the other economies. But we understand the challenge. Like if I go back to the original point which you asked, how are we going to achieve this? We understand the challenge is huge. And the biggest challenge, the challenge of all, even which gave Nkrumah so much trouble in 1963 when he was trying to unify Africa, is the challenge of reorganizing the people. Because everywhere where you go, the challenge will always be how to synergize people so that they are always in the same mind. They are thinking, alike, and they are talking about the same thing. So that is where we are concentrating our effort as the Africa Continental Unity Party
at the moment. Do you okay, I love that, but do you have any other ways to achieve that goal of 20 years from now? Because I think you said something very important, that people are the asset, is everything. If you have people behind you, with you, then obviously this is something doable. It could be even less than 20 years. But any other strategic plan that ACUP has to reach to this goal that you guys have written for yourself? Just to mention, if there's 1, 2, 3, I would just love to know that. And I think
so the basis of all the other strategic plans is the understanding that we have the resources. That is number one. Now,
Yeah.
we understand that we have the resources.
Yeah.
We are going to bring together all the smart people across the continent and in the diaspora. When you go back to Ghana, we don't even have to reinvent much. We as Africans, we don't have to reinvent very much. We are assembling some of the smartest people on the planet to build the new systems. And of course, if you are talking about building new systems, it includes a new political infrastructure. So if we are going to build a new,
yes, I'm sorry for cutting you out, but I think I got your point. I think I was asking the question that you already answered, because I think if I can say that, I think your focus is to organize people, first of all, getting the people, because that's where all the solution lies. If we want smart people to deal with infrastructure, we have. We need people to plan, IT, whatever we have. People are the capital, and they can do everything. We're coming up with this an idea of the organization or the party where people can join and they can actually work. Not like it's not like we have a solution already, but we have an idea of how we can get solution through the people of Africa to bring about this. That's what you're trying to say, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, my brother. You got it. You nailed it on the head. So that is the point right there. So there is a gentleman I met. Is one of the great elders. He lives in the United States. He's called Professor Hannington Mubayo. He's a development engineer, and he came from Zimbabwe, and he has stayed in the United States for more than 25 years. And we met through this Pan-Africanism. We are looking for solutions for the continent. So he taught me one thing. This is why it's very important to listen to elders. He told me one thing, and he said that if you are looking at transforming society, my son, don't look, the visionaries, they don't think like people they don't think like people who are, for example, who's sweeping in the room or the mechanic. That's not how a visionary thinks. The visionary looks at the top of the whole situation and set the vision and concentrates on the vision. For example, if you have set a target that you are going to reconstruct the African continent, that is the target you set. Now, what you ask yourself is, what do I need to reconstruct this continent? So you concentrate on that I want to rebuild, like the SUP is talking about, rebuilding Africa to a GDP per capita of $22,000. Now we ask ourselves, what do we need? For us, we just need to reorganize the resources. We need to get power, first of all, and that power will give us a basis of reorganizing the resources. So we have the people, like, for example, Africa has a GDP per capita, which we have mentioned. We have mentioned the whole GDP of the African continent, but even the literacy rate, when you look around the African continent, you take the literacy rate, we have a literacy rate of more than 70%. So this is all you need. You have all you need. You have all you need. Now, what is happening today is that our smart people are being extracted to go to work in Europe, to go to work in the United States, because those countries, the populations are dropping down. They don't have people who are working. Today, news came out that China's population, just today, I read this news today, China's population has dropped for the second year. So now these countries, Russia is also, the population is dropping down. And I saw that Russia signed some contract with, I think, with Kenya. They're going to export labor. We saw Malawi exporting labor to Israel. We saw Kenya is exporting labor to Germany. So our labor, educated, is being extracted out of the continent. And these are the basis of our economic growth. So for us, this is what is paining us as the SCUP, and we are saying that this should not be happening. This is the future. This is the future. These are the people who are supposed to, reorganize the continent. So for now, we are still struggling with that basis of making our people understand that come and support the SUP. And then we are going to show you, we are showing you how you can reorganize your society, how we can work together. We don't have to go outside. How can we reorganize our society and resources so that other people can store, depending on them, whether it's material, and now you have seen human is being extracted in the same way like how they used to extract during slavery. They're extracting skilled labor to go to build Europe. So this is the challenge.
All right, Kwame. I think I'll jump to another question, and I'd love to know about since right now we already know that is a political organization. I'd love to know what is the motto of leadership in ACUP and leadership aspects, and not only the motto, but what are you guys looking to bring when it comes to leadership? Because we can all agree that the main problem of Africa is leadership. Everything falls under leadership. That's what I believe. And I believe that in Africa, we have been led by the bunch of politicians and not really leaders. They're not qualified to be called leaders because of their fruits. You know, you can tell that this is the good tree when you eat the fruit and the fruit is good, like good mango or good orange. But if it's sour, it's not really good, it's not really sweet, you know that the tree is bad. Right. And when you look at Africa, when you see at the economy, when you see at the development, when you see at the vision even of Africa, you don't see leadership. Like you might be just saying, I remember, you know, when I was just a little kid, I wanted to become a leader. The reason why, not because I had anything like strategic to do in my country or in the continent, but I wanted to become a leader because I look at the leader at the time and I was like, man, if this is the leader, I can do a better job than what he does. So I understand that as a political organization, you have a big role to actually bring about leaders and leadership that can actually transform the continent. Leaders, these important figures that we mentioned today, Kwame, we mentioned Nyerere, Kaunda, you know, Mandela, these, you know, Sankara, these are leaders that we always refer to, but it's simply because we don't have the current leaders that we can refer to, right? We don't really have, like in the recent couple of years. I mean, I can name few. I can name Magufuli, which, you know, most of us, we can all agree that, you know, he was really, you know, the rock. But, you know, apart from that, it's hard to name other leaders that we can say these are leaders are fighting for this continent. So what is the motto of leadership in ACUP, and what are you guys looking to bring, especially in leadership perspective? We have a lot of questions, so just try to keep it short.
Yeah. So the SUP it has avoided the trap of glorifying individuals. And
I love that.
Yes, yeah. So the trap of over glorifying individuals, I think we have tried to avoid this, and then this means for us that we are bringing a new model of leadership that is not antagonistic. The model of leadership we have today, like you mentioned, is not about unifying the people, it's about dividing the people. So you have two groups now contesting against each other and people fighting against each other, and the citizens are dying, and at the end of the day, they have killed each other, and then, you know, you have one person saying that he is the president. But even when you examine really this Western form of democracy, you can see that I'll pull out one example, a country like Ghana, for example. It has over 30 million people. The people who vote, who are registered to vote, they are 9 million people. Now, the people who vote the president, whose existence is around 5 million people. So, out of 30 million people, the people who voted the president who is in power, who's saying that he's representing the majority, was voted by 5 million people out of the 30 million people. Now, this is the form of democracy, whether you are going to the Western world, you know, in the United States, everywhere where they tell you that this is it. You know, you look at President Trump, for example, or Biden, they got around 75 million votes.
Yeah.
You know? But the country is around 350 million people. So how can you say that the guy who got 75 million votes represents all these people? So you can say that he's voted by the minority, but he's saying that he represents the majority. So this is the problem. Now, this is not the type of leadership we, as a revolutionary, you know, organization, that we are coming to implement or to play with. Like we say, revolutionaries are coming to transform society from all levels. So the infrastructure level of the political infrastructure, the economic infrastructure, and the social infrastructure, the SUP is coming to transform all these parts of society. So we are not going to run in this kind of model of leadership. So that is what the SUP is about. Is about serving the interests of the people. That is number one. We want a model of leadership where people vote on policy. So every policy, when the MPs, for example, in the system we have today, the MPs can increase their salaries without consulting the people. Now, our model of leadership, our people are going to vote on policy, mostly to vote on policy. Do you want it? Our system will be examining and asking people, what is your condition in society? So we have a system whereby people are constantly, voicing their concerns about the concerns in their society, in the part of society. And then that system which we have is constantly filtering out the concerns of the people and attending to them. So we think that this is a more responsive system of leadership, because after all, democracy is supposed to be a system which delivers for the people. Democracy is not the end in itself. It is a means to the end. And the end is the upward social and economic mobility. Social and economic upward mobility. That is what we are supposed to achieve with democracy. But when we are not achieving that, then the system of leadership has to be scrapped, has to be reformed, or has to be transformed, completely. And that's what the SUP is going to do.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Let me just, first of all, appreciate everybody who is joining and watching us from everywhere. Let us know, guys, where you're watching from, where you're joining from. Just minding you that we are live on YouTube, Swahili Nation, TikTok, Mika Chavala, Twitter, Mika Chavala, Instagram, Mika Chavala. So we are live right now in 4 different platforms, and I can see your comments. I can see you guys watching us and joining us from everywhere. We are sending our regards to you guys. Thank you so much. I know on TikTok you cannot see us really, because I'm using different channel, but on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, all of you guys can see us. So if you're watching this, joining from everywhere, do not hesitate. Don't forget to like the stream. It's very important, because when you like, actually, these social media, they tend to suggest your stream to other people as well to watch. So if you're joining, make sure you like, smash the like button, but also you can subscribe if you haven't. You can follow if you haven't. You can share with neighbor. It's very important for people to actually see what is happening and joining us. So let me ask you just this one more question, because we are going, with the policies and everything. I really want to know. So I studied economics. Basically, I'm an economist, and I'm very, very interested in the economy perspective of ACUP. Because economics, we can all agree that Africa, I always say this, I don't know if you can agree or not, that Africa, we are still colonized. All right. After the old colonization, Kwame Nkrumah, he came up with the concept of neo-colonialism, which basically is kind of like the changing of form. Like before, these white men were here, guiding and leading everything, but they had to create the system that is going to trap you guys economically, financially, and you're not going to be able to break out on your own unless you want for their support, you want for their everything. And so you have issues with AIDS, with loans, with actually it's draining Africa inside out. Right now, we've spoken a little bit about brain drain. You have, Africans leaving, going outside for school, and actually they remain there. They work there, fighting for their lives. I can't blame them. They're finding a better life. But on the other side, we are losing the gems of Africa. Not only that, right now, you've mentioned about Kenya. More than 10,000 Kenyans leaving, going abroad to work. But not only Kenya, I think Zambia has done that. Ethiopia has done that. Even Tanzania, and I've seen that news recently. Tanzania is sending, let me say this again. This is the country I live in, and I got to say this with all conviction I have in my country. Tanzania, brother, is sending nurses, people from the health sector in Saudi Arabia. And these nurses are not men. They want to send only female nurses to Saudi Arabia. That's the condition. So actually, the government has announced that the job have been found, and we're going to send our women to go to work in Saudi Arabia as nurses and doctors there. But when I look at my country and I go to these hospitals and everywhere, you cannot even get service because you don't have enough nurses and doctors in these hospitals. You have a shortage of these people. But at the same time, this country said we are providing job opportunities to our people by bringing nurses to Saudi Arabia. And women, there's a condition we only want women. I don't know what's going to happen there. These are going to bear children there. I don't know. What is behind this strategy? I don't know what is happening. But it's sad that every country right now in Africa, they're sending people outside. And all this by the name of economy. And these politicians are bragging, saying that, you know what, we are providing solution. The main problem in Africa is employment. Every single year, you have more than 10 million young Africans. You know, they're actually moving from university everywhere, ready to go to the employment sector. But the continent provides only 3 million a year. So all the rest of the people, the youth, they need to move outside. They need to go to Saudi Arabia. They need to go to America. They need to go to Canada. And now we are sending them officially. But we all know what happens to them when they get there. They're not valued. And, you know, they work anyhow. This is not something to celebrate. It's something to actually weep and cry. But I really want to know, with your party, what is that solution you're trying to bring when it comes to economy? What are the strategies? What are the policies that are really going to transform the economy of this continent?
We have an economic system that has been designed, which is called the Katikati economic system.
The Katikati?
Yes, Katikati economic system.
Okay.
And that economic system is based in the traditions of the African people, the fact that we all must be comfortable in the society in which we are living is based on the Ubuntu principles. That's what the economic system itself is based on. The entrepreneurship is there, but we have limits to which we can go. There's no whereby we allow people to accumulate wealth, which is unnecessary, which they don't need. And this requires us to live mindful of our neighbors, just like here, Ubuntu means that you should be mindful of how your neighbor is living. If someone is in trouble, you should be able to help them. And so this means that the youth for us are central to our economic strategy as the SCUP, that we understand that's where the energy is when you're talking about building an economy. We understand that we are supposed to build the best infrastructure. There's an infrastructure, there's a major infrastructure, which actually I will not talk about it on air here because we are still at the infant stages of discussing with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Because the Africa Continental Free Trade Area came and said that they are opening up space of the African continent to trade, but we don't have infrastructure on which to trade. We don't have industries which to trade. So there is an understanding by the SCUP that any economic system is supposed to be built on infrastructure. Now, when you build infrastructure, the best infrastructure, starting when you go back to the first industrial revolution and the second industrial revolution, you have best infrastructure which was built before you have explosion in the economy. You didn't just start trading. So you have best infrastructure, you have factories which are running and manufacturing goods for the different parts of the continent. So you're talking about import substitution and all these things like agriculture alone, for example. Africa is importing up to around 78 to 85 billion dollars of agricultural produce right now from outside. And yet some of those goods are present in West Africa, or they are present in East Africa, and they are not present in West Africa. But how to move them, that becomes a problem. So our economic system is based on building the best infrastructure first, not just to start trade and we say we are trading, we are opening up and building Africa Continental Free Trade Area without having the best infrastructure. Have we built the logistics system that is going to transport goods from east to west? And what is the West going to specialize in? So the system is based on planning, specialization, and all the way to the ground. And that is what the best is. So we are not just talking GDP per capita without it being, effective. So the standards of living of our people is constantly going to be measured, okay, to understand how are our people living per community and how many people have we lifted out of poverty. And everyone has to be lifted out of poverty, not just a few people, and then we say we have achieved this percentage, but everyone, we have to work hard. The people who are leading the SPUP and leading the continent have to live within the means of the people they lead, not to buy Lamborghinis and buy, Land Cruisers, being Land Cruisers, when the people you are leading, are living in poverty, extreme poverty. So for us as the SUP, this is our outlook when it comes to the economy, building it from the base and building it with the people, building it, the best infrastructure, building the industries, and using our very own labor, because it is the young people who are going to run those industries and infrastructure. Imagine, for example, if you build, first of all, a railway platform all across the African continent, how many jobs would you create if you started with that? And the money is there. You can't say that the money is not there. I mentioned for you that Africa has a GDP of $3.5 trillion. So the money is there, but the management and the organization of that money or those resources is the problem. And for us, this is the biggest problem. Now, when we get it, then we start with the best infrastructure. India has one of the busiest railway platforms in the world. And it's building trains, it's building vehicles, building even planes. Yet we have the same size of economy. But even better for us, we have a piece of land, which is 12 times bigger than that of India. So we should be able to feed the whole world. So agriculture, invest in agriculture, invest in industry, but there's specialization. Because, for example, if you look at North Africa, you cannot grow food in North Africa. So you can only grow it in the south. So parts where you can grow food, then we can't, carry out extensive mining there or drilling of oil or even refining oil from there. So we take the industries to the northern part of the continent. So this is the kind of specialization and building of a sustainable economy that we are talking about.
Yeah. That's one of the sad part, my brother Kwame, is that whatever we mismanage it, you will lose it. And I think what you just hit right on the point, that the main problem of Africa is not about poverty. I don't believe that Africa is poor. It's not. We just made to believe that so that someone else can take advantage of that. And after we got our politicians, they keep speaking about the same thing. And that's why one of the things, I have like 3 points that I always talk about. And the first one is that there's no first world country, second world country, third world country. We only have one world, right? All these things that are meant to actually mess up with our psychology.
They are
make us believe, make us believe that we are down there. We're in the third world country. So we'll always look up to the first world country. Exactly. Someone is superior.
It's actually racist. All these constructs are based on racist. When they were saying that the black man is inferior, the white man is inferior. So all these categorizations are based on racist tendencies.
It's based on that. And what we do not realize is that right now they cannot say directly that black man is inferior, but they say you're coming from the third world country because that is Africa. And this notion, even our politicians, they talk about this constantly in our countries, and we feel like if we need to make it, we need to go outside of Africa to make it. There's a better life out there. But for people like me who lived outside for a long time, we realize that there's actually a better life here in the continent. And we move back right now, and we have a lot of our brothers and sisters who are moving back to the continent because they know there's a better life here. There's another notion. It says that there's developed country and developing country. And who is developing country? Africa. But, I always say that all of us were developing countries, because if they're developed country, why are they looking to Africa? Why are they taking something away from Africa? Why there's a scramble for Africa, for all of them to get a piece of cake that is in Africa to develop themselves? because they're not yet developed. They are developing. All of us, we are developing countries. So what
Absolutely.
makes it, it makes us believing that, okay, we're developing, we need them, they have already gotten there, but they didn't get there. They're not there yet. They're not. All of us, we depend on one another. We need one another to get to where we want to get. So the problem with Africa is that mismanagement is really causing Africa to crumble for so long time. And only if we can have a leadership that will actually know how to manage the resources we have. First of all, to hold onto the resources we have, to manage them. Because that's where the richness is. That's where the worth is. I just found out a couple months ago that, you know, the reason why Africa is poor, because we are not controlling our own resources. And I took this concept from the biblical concept in Genesis 1:26 that says, okay, you know, go and take over dominion over the birds in the sky, fish in the seas, and everything that goes around the ground and inside the ground. Basically, God was telling a man that, okay, you need to take over dominion about the resources that I created it for you. That the only task that God given man, Africa is not doing it, because when you come to the mining sectors and all these resources we have, you find white men managing them, Asian men managing them. Are they doing a wrong thing? No, they're actually operating in their God divine nature of dominating. But we are the one to blame, because we are the one that are allowing it. We feel like we cannot do it. So we need first world countries. So we need developed countries to come and to utilize our resources, and not even for us, but for themselves. They take it for themselves. So this leads me to this another question that I would love to ask you. I think it's very strange that the way enemy does is that he always looks strong, but he's not really strong in the inside. Outside in, he looks strong, but inside out, they're not really strong. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the scripture that it says, devil is kind of like the lion that is rolling around looking to who to devour. He's but he's not really the lion. He is in the form of lion, and he's always just barking and making this noise for people to be scared of it. But in reality, there's nothing in there. Why I'm saying this? I'm saying this because of this question that I'm going to ask you right now, that the enemy of Africa is not Western, it's not foreign interference. It's not that. I think we can shut them down just in a moment. I think the problem with Africa is, we say this at the beginning, is organizing Africans, is bringing Africans together. Because one thing that the enemy is so threatened with Africa is if Africans one day will wake up and come together. That's why any messenger of unity, they were taken down. Anybody who came and spoke about unity and bringing Africa together, their lives were at risk, and some of them, most of them, they were killed, because they know the day Africa wakes up and come together as one people, nobody is going to take advantage of Africa. Nobody is going to undermine Africa. Africa will have seats in the international stages, and Africa will stand on her own feet, even without needing anybody. The matter of fact, they need us more than we need them. If one day Africa will come together. So that is really the enemy of Africa. And I feel like for so long we are focusing on the wrong enemy. We're trying to fight the West. We're trying to find the East. But we don't remember that we cannot fight them if we're not organized. The easiest way of kicking them away is by us coming together, bringing ourselves together. And, you know, that will be the solution of so many issues that we are passing through. So I love the fact that you guys are organizing, but I want to know practical things that you guys are doing currently right now, practical things that you're doing or initiative that you're doing right now to organizing our people, or organizing all these, you know, policies that we are talking about to bring about development and change that we want in our continent.
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. You've spoken very well. Yeah, so those points you made are really important. And it is important to look at and weigh all sides anyway, because they affect us either way. So we need to organize inside. Like you mentioned, the leaders who have tried to organize, they have been removed, which is a problem. And mostly they have been removed by the external forces, of course, who see the organizing of the African people as as a threat. And of course, we have seen that some of them had succeeded, like Sankara. He succeeded almost organizing all of Burkina Faso for the 4 years he was there and rebuilding a lot of things. In Nkrumah, we saw him. He had succeeded in organizing, but he was removed. So for organizing the African people, I think it is very possible. It has been shown that it is very possible. So I think that we need to continue in that tradition, but at the same time, see how we can ward off the external enemy, because every time you build something and he comes and destroys it, and then you build, and then like Nkrumah built and they came and destroyed it and they removed him and they chased him out of power so that the people can be scattered. And then Sankara came and then he built something, and then the French came and beat him and destroyed him. Now they are disturbing President Traore. President Traore is trying to build, he's trying to put the country together. They have come together with Niger and Burkina Faso and Mali. They are trying to disturb him and they're trying to overthrow him. So I think we organize and then we stay aware of these enemies. So one of the things which we are doing, which we have done in the past, let me start with what we have done in the past, is that the party and the movement has been registered in Ghana as a political movement to be able to engage in the country, because before you engage in the country and you are able to speak to people and organize, you have to be a registered political movement, because it is illegal, to be an individual. You are out there in various countries and talking about things which matter to people. So you want to be illegal in one way or another, and especially politically, so that you can engage. So we have registered in Ghana, and we have got a provisional certificate. We have men moving on the ground rapidly. The moving is, scatting all over the country. So we have got our provisional certificate from the Electoral Commission in Ghana, and we are looking at the permanent certificate as a movement. We are doing the same in South Africa. That is what we are doing. In Zambia, we are making preparations. In Gambia, also, we are making preparations. And Nigeria, we are entering also there. We have people who have started, organizing. So we rely on inside revolutionaries within the various countries. We don't bring the revolutionaries to come from outside. You are coming from South Africa. We work with the people who understand that the African continent is supposed to be transformed within the various states of the continent. So that's what we do. Recently, we held a march to support Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. When they came together, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they have come together. They are trying to form a federation, which we have encouraged, and we are also writing to them as SDUP to try to encourage them and say they should move forward, and even try to invite other African countries. So we held a demonstration which happened in South Africa. People can go on YouTube and find that on our platform, on Africa Continental Unity Party platform. Those videos, we have uploaded them. We were there in South Africa, Liberia. We were in Sierra Leone. We demonstrated over there to French embassies. We demonstrated in Nigeria also. So we are trying to make the presence of the SUP be felt when it comes to the issues which are affecting the African people on the ground. Now, on the other hand, as we are moving forward, we are also inviting more of the talented people to join the SUP so that they can be able to hold it, to work together, so that we can work together on these tasks. This is a huge responsibility. So we are inviting a lot of people in the media, speakers, very good speakers, people who know how to talk very well, and they know how to communicate to people. We are inviting all these people. So these are tasks which are going on every day. Even today, I was communicating with one of the biggest elders, in the country where I am right now. I will not say his name. And we have set up an appointment. We are going to meet him, in the next few days. This is one of the biggest people who have been in the country, running the country, but is not now in power. His party has gone out of power, but he has been in the country running. So, and these are people who are welcoming us everywhere where they hear about the ideas of the SUP. They say, let us hear what you guys have. So we are working with the elders, we're working with the young people on all grounds. Now, what we are coming up with right now that we are working on coming April, we are trying to expand the activities that we have a demonstration for a single currency, which is we are trying. We held last time, we held in about 6 countries. Now we are trying to expand it to 15 countries. The demonstration for a single African currency, and of course, this almost lines up very well with the campaign which the Swahili nation is carrying out of of unifying Africa, united Africa. Now this is very important. So we are carrying out this campaign of a single currency, and we are trying to expand it to 15 African countries. So we need any help which anyone can give us in this regard, whether it is media, whether it is logistical support. Especially logistical support is very important in these various African countries. So we are trying to bring this understanding to the AU, to the African Union, that it is, been signing, the heads of state have been signing particular agreements, and they have not been, respecting them. One of those agreements, for example, you can talk of, the launching of the African passport in Kigali, which happened in Kigali. I think it was in 2018. They launched a passport, and that passport has not been given out, even though the African Union encouraged the heads of state to give out the African Union passport to the African citizens. They themselves, they got them. I remember President Kagame got his, Aliko Dangote, and all the big people on the continent.
Everybody who is working in the African Union and all the leaders have.
Yes. So, but we want to see these given to the citizens. Now, this means that for us, we are going to hold their feet on the fire. So when it comes to the issue of the single African currency, this is an issue which is very critical. And thank God, the Africa Import and Export Bank, of course, has launched under the AFCFTA, which is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. They already launched the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which President Ruto has been talking about for a long time when he came to power, especially, which he was supporting, that we should stop using the dollar. So if they have been able to launch these, we think that they should move rapidly towards a single African currency, and then African resources, all of them should be sold at first, should be a centralized currency, whereby it should only be catering at the beginning for the selling of Africa's resources, the oil, the gold, all of it should be sold in that single African currency, which should be at least managed by the Africa Development Bank or the Africa Import and Export Bank, and this is very possible. This is very possible. This will help even to boost the African economy. So these are our arguments. So we are pushing this, and we are holding it in April, this year, coming this year, April, and we are marching to the parliament, the various parliaments of the African continent, and we are delivering these letters, our petitions, letters of petitions, to the various speakers of parliament of the various African countries, which we are going to choose and work on. And later, we will follow up to see what has been done on these various letters. We will not stop at demonstrating peacefully and delivering these letters, but we will also follow up to see what has been done about this and keep demanding, because we understand that without pressure, nothing can be done on the African continent.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I think everything you said, it's very important. And I want to say this, Kwame. I said this behind the scene, and I say this here. The initiative for single African currency, it's something that we ourselves, I think you got a time to sign the petition that we have, if I'm not mistaken.
I've already signed it. Myself, I signed it. I saw it long time, and I signed it.
Exactly.
I shared it with other people. Absolutely.
Yeah. We really appreciate that, because it's for the continent, it's for Africa, and I'm just so grateful for you to do that and to share with your friends as well. You know that this is one of our main thing that we are actually fighting for. A single passport is something that we've spoken all the time. Actually, for the entire last year, our thumbnail on YouTube, it was One Africa, One Passport. It's one of the things that we advocate all the time as well. So I say this behind the scene, and I say this here, that during the demonstration for single currency, we as Swahili Nation, we're gonna give platform to you guys, for you guys to actually stream live. We'll stream live straight from where you guys are demonstrating. for this as single currency, we'll do that, because regardless of the, I might not know all the policies that you guys have, I may not know all the intentions or everything deep inside, but one thing I agree with you, single currency, I agree with you. The unit of Africa, I agree with you. So if you're fighting for that and I am fighting for that, I am willing to hold my hand together and to support that, because we all want the same thing, and that is single African currency, for the continent. So on that day, hopefully we'll get somebody from your side who can actually be streaming live there, just like right now what we are doing. Somebody can do it, and we'll put him here on the screen, and everything will be just going live throughout the demonstration, so that other Africans who are not going to be there on the spot, maybe they're in other countries or outside the continent, they'll be able to join actually, and to see what is happening on the ground. And I know all Africans, we've even done a research here in Swahili Nation, and we found out that all Africans, they want African currency, they want it. But a lot of people, they just say, oh, it's difficult, this is not an easy thing, look at what happened to Gaddafi, look at that. I'm like, why are you looking at the negativity of it? Why can't we say that, okay, those people, they tried their best, they failed because we failed them, but they were determined and they wanted to achieve that goal, but we failed them as fellow Africans. But right now we can correct those mistakes, but not by not failing one another, by actually standing with one another and support initiatives like this, so that we can see the Africa we want.
Yes, it is our turn. It is our turn.
Yeah.
I was absolutely. I was listening to President Seven, one video he was speaking.
Yeah.
I think it was in Mozambique after the death of Samora Machar, and he said that if you are saying that it is a revolution, then you have to know that some people are going to give their lives, because that is the nature of the revolution.
Yeah.
If you're talking about a revolution, then there has to be sacrifices. This is the statement he was trying to make. So if you don't want to make sacrifice, if there's not supposed to be sacrifices, then it is not a revolution.
Yeah.
It is not.
It's
okay, it is something. This is a joke.
It's true.
So people have to sacrifice. People have to learn to sacrifice and stop fearing and saying, "Oh, because President Nkrumah, died and they removed him from power and he died in exile, then everyone, now cannot attempt." No, Sankara came and attempted, and Gaddafi came and attempted, and our enemy is becoming weak. But like you mentioned, so we don't know at what point our enemy is going to be completely weak and distracted. And now we are seeing all these wars that are going on. Our enemy is completely weakened. He's fighting wars in Ukraine where he's being defeated. He's fighting wars in Afghanistan where he has run. The United States has run from Afghanistan. They are fighting other wars, where they are being chased. I saw news yesterday. Iraq is dismissing the United States, is chasing them out of their country, and they are being defeated in Palestine. So our enemy is becoming weaker and weaker every day, like you mentioned. So it's an opportunity for us to take, that we should be able to continue to agitate and build a better continent for ourselves.
Yeah, indeed. Kwame, let me just say this, man. Okay, I want to tell you this right now. This is gonna be the first of many conversations that we're gonna have. And I want just for today for us to stop here, because we've been here for 1 hour and a few minutes. But let's say this is the episode 1 of our conversation. I know we're going to need to plan for another talk before the demonstration starts. Even if we want to have a little bit more than that, we can reflect on this conversation that we have here. And I believe that I know there's so many other things we haven't talked about, but we can definitely have another session to come back here and to carry on with this. I would love to be, I say, part of this conversation, because I think what you're doing is great, and I think it's good for our people. So I would love to see how everything unfold. Right, you and us here at SNOA, we started basically like four years ago as well. We didn't start that long, so it gives me courage and so much joy to see. These movements are coming up, and we want nothing but to see our continent in a better place for our kids, because we are doing this for the future generation. We ain't doing for us. We're not gonna be here, but our kids will be in a better place, just like what the forefathers fought for independence of Africa. And today we are here to talk about, we are enjoying the fruits of what they saw, right, long time ago. So I really just want to appreciate you for coming here and share this with us. I know there's other people that we're gonna have to talk about, but let's plan that for the next time. I think it's gonna be more good for that.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Mika. And I also just want to appreciate the great work you're doing for our continent. And just to say a few words, to the Africans who are out there, that this continent, it is our time to build it. And like we mentioned, sacrifice has to be made in every generation. A sacrifice has to be made. One of the great Africans, I think who wrote Wretched of the Earth, Frantz Fanon, say that every generation must discover its mission and either fulfill it or betray the mission. So our mission in this generation, as is always, articulated by the daughter of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who's called Samia Nkrumah, she always says that this generation must finish the unfinished business. Yeah. So the unfinished business is the business of the unification of the African continent at cost, at all costs. At a cost, but at all costs, we have to do it. That cost, we should be willing to pay that cost as African people. And there's no any other generation that is going to do it. So if you are looking around and complaining that the continent is in a poor state, ask yourself, what have I done today to better this continent? Absolutely. What have I done today to make sure that the children I leave behind, they have a better continent? That is the question I want to ask you from the Africa Continental Unity Party movement. Thank you very much, my brother.
Appreciate, brother. I send my regard to you and to your entire team. God bless and wish you all the best. Until next time. All right, guys. So that was Kwame. And let me just say a little bit about, these guys. Actually, we were supposed to have this talk long time ago, since last year. Just a second. Yeah, I was supposed to have conversation with Kwame and his entire organization last year. And there have been a lot of things very occupied for the past 3-4 months. So I kept delaying it. And we were supposed even to have like this conversation a couple weeks ago. And I kept delaying it until today, all of a sudden. So I really want to appreciate these guys for being patient, with that. Because if you want to have something and then it takes a very long time, sometimes it kills the mood, right? But I believe everything happens for a reason. And this is the very first conversation that I had with my brothers. But we're going to have another conversation, again in the days to come. Just follow up to get to know deep. So you guys, all the questions that you have, don't hesitate to drop in the comment section. Not the live comment section, but the real comment section. So that even later on when I go back and we go through this video, we can actually just go through those questions and ask in the next live stream that we're going to do. But right before I finish, I want to talk about some few things that we talked about here and things that are dear to my heart. And I feel like these are things that we need to address, and these are things that we need Africans to keep our eyes open day and night. If there's a time that Africa needs to be open and wide awake, is right now, man. Is right now. Not physically, not spiritually. It is the time that Africa needs to be awake more than any other time. 2024 is the time that Africa needs to be awake all the time. We cannot afford to sleep. What I mean in our mental, we cannot afford to sleep in our mental state. We need to wake up. And if you feel like you are in a sleeping mood, come on, stand with somebody who is awake and make sure that you boost yourself up. Drink a lot of coffee and stay awake, because what is happening in Africa in this year, it's crazy, both spiritually and physically. And all of these things, they have only one reason, main reason, is to break Africa down. To break Africa down. The reason why Africa is standing today, I'll say this again, it is because of the fear of God in this continent. It's because majority of Africans, whether they're Christian, whether they're Muslim, whether they are coming from anywhere, majority of Africans, they believe in God. They pray to God. They seek God. So whether things are going well or they're going wrong, it doesn't matter. But the reason why Africa is still holding together, hold herself together, regardless of all the troubles, trials Africa is going through, has been going through for the past 100 years, because it's not just 60. Before colonialism, we had slavery, and we had slave trade and colonialism and everything, things that Africa had to endure for all these years. And still, yet, Africa today is still standing. It is not because of a good leadership, because God knows when we had good leadership, not because of intelligence, not because of the lack, not because of anything, but it is because of the hand of God in this continent. Whether you believe in God or you don't, let me tell you today loud and clear, God, He's watching over Africa, has been watching over Africa entire time, because Africans, they have fear of God. So whether they believe in the Africa's gods, African gods, whether they believe in the God, whatever that they believe in, but Africans have fear of God, because when God created a man, He left that empty space inside of their heart. That empty space, nothing can satisfy you except God Himself, except the fear of God. So you could have a lot of money, all the money that you want in this world. I've been listening a lot of the number one rich people in this world. Number ones, 1, 2, 3, all of them. But they're all worried. Some of them, they call their mind storms. When somebody say like that, like everybody wants to be like me, but my mind is like a storm, it's not an easy statement. That is very spiritual. And it's very difficult statement, that somebody can have all the money that you want, but still cannot even enjoy his own money. Do not even have a decent house to sleep on, to live. Why? Because deep inside of our heart, we have an empty gap that nothing can fill that gap except God Himself. And Africans, for some reason, we've realized that for the grace of God, by the grace of God, we know that. So that empty space has been filled for so long time with the fear of God. So you have Africans who believe in God, who love God, and they go extreme. They just believe in God and they don't do anything. So we say this is the year of excellence. It means that you believe in God, but you need to put on the effort. You need to put on the work. You need to you need to put on your effort. You need to do everything you can to bust your butt off, to make sure that you get what you want, you get what you work for. It's the excellence in every levels. But the reason why Africa is still standing, because apart from that ignorance of not working excellently, not working smart, but we still, because of that gap that we feel with the fear of God inside our hearts, it helps us to persevere. It helps us to have hope. It helps us to have joy, man. I've never been in a place where people, they don't even have a meal to eat, but they have joy, but they have peace, but they have celebration in their heart. Most of funny videos today, if you go on the internet and search them out, you'll find Africans having fun. Kind of fun that Africans are having other people. When you look at the Westerners or everything, or people look at like, what the hell are they doing, these people? What kind of life is this? But Africans are enjoying, having fun, have joy, smile on their face, joy inside their heart. A lot of Western people are coming here for what? For mission trips to preach God. But when they come here, they realize that, man, I better go back to my country and preach God there, because there's God in Africa. There's more God here in Africa than in my own country. Why? Because that gap, empty gap, Africans, they figured out that only God can fill that empty gap. But this year, we need to go extra mile. Apart from just believing in faith, we need to put on action, put excellence, and try to redeem this continent, because that is kind of work that God is not going to come down from heaven to do it for you and for me. That's kind of work that me and you has to do it. That's kind of work that me and you has to sacrifice our time, has to sacrifice our resources, have to sacrifice everything we got, sometimes even our lives, in order to see the change that we need in our continent. That's the work that we must do it. No angel is going to do it, no miracle. You can't sit down and pray for development to happen. No, you need to step out to work smart, Work with the Spirit of God and to bring about that development. And that's why I believe that we, SNOA, we can bring that because God is at the center. Because the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And once you have that, then the change can happen. But why I'm sharing this? Because Africa is under attack. Guys, let me tell you this. The reason why, in Africa, just recently, the father of Catholic, Papa, he said that, the church, can bless the single-sex marriage, can bless it. They don't have to carry it, but they can bless it. He said that. But you know what Africa did? The Catholic in Africa stood up and they say, no, we ain't going to do that. You say no to that. So let me tell you this. If you don't understand, this is the father of the church. Everybody, every Catholic people believe in this guy. Every one of them respect. Every one of them follow them. But they say, no. For this, you cross the line. We ain't going to bless the single sex. We ain't going to bless that. We ain't going to bless that. That is against nature. That's against God. We're not going to bless that. They say no. Let me tell you this. Because of the fear of God that Africans has, family values are still there, are still holding together. But you know what devil wants to do? He wants to break that as well. He wants to take the fear of God out of you, out of your heart, out of your life. Because if you take away the fear of God, the fear of man comes in. And when it comes in, man, whatever that you do because you're afraid of someone. And whatever they say, you're going to do it. You ain't going to stand for yourself and be like, no, what does God say about this? But you're going to look at, oh, are you giving me money? Okay, where is it? And we lost a lot of leaders, a lot of politicians in Africa because of that. So therefore, in 2024, it's not just looking after your economy or whatever, man. These are very simple things. These are very simple things to solve. I'm telling you, man. This is a very simple thing to solve, because if you find a man who has a true fear of God, they're not going to be doing the things they're doing right now in our government. The reason why is because they have small mind leading the big mind of Africans. You can't lead them to promised land if you have a small mind. You can't lead them to promised land if you don't have the fear of God. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Scriptures are very clear about that. You want wisdom? Fear God, because that is the beginning of wisdom. That's the meaning of wisdom, God himself. If you don't fear him, you don't have wisdom. You can have worldly wisdom, wisdom that is coming from above, that you can get from books, that you can get from normal knowledge, or that you can go to school, you can get your PhD. You can get that wisdom, it's okay. But it has limits. It has limits. That's when you find everybody with everything, has all the money, have all the power they have, but they don't have peace. Because that peace cannot be brought by money. That peace cannot be brought by women. That peace cannot be brought by music. That peace cannot be brought by entertainment. That peace cannot be brought by easy talk. No, only God can fill that empty gap that inside of our hearts. And Africans knows that. And that's why this continent is the best place for living. That's why most of them, they come Africa for a vacation. To Africa for a vacation. Why? Because there's a peace here. There's joy here. I remember during the time of COVID-19, a lot of people moved to Tanzania. Why? Because they found home here. They found peace here. A lot of people moved to Ghana, moved to Africa. Why? They were finding peace. But let me tell you this. What devil is doing, if he messes up the spiritual world, then the physical world, it's lost already. And that's what is happening in the United States. If you lose the fear of God, you're welcoming chaos in your country, chaos in your continent. And we cannot allow that. You cannot allow that. We, SNOA, are not allowing that. I told you guys before, man, it doesn't matter how many things I say, how many things I do, but if there will be a day that I lose the fear of God in me, you guys do not follow this place. Because I'm gonna lead you astray. Don't follow me. Don't follow this place. It's not a right place for you. It can't be here. I ain't gonna lead you anywhere. Where am I gonna lead you? Do I have a country to lead you guys? Do I have a promised land to lead you? No. Myself, I need hope. I'm no hope. I'm not hope. I need hope. And God is hope. So once you have the fear of God, then you have people, you know where to lead people to. You know. I know that I am not the solution. I know that SNOA is not a solution. You know that. I can say as much as I want, but I know it's not a solution. SNOA is not going to bring peace in Africa. No. How many organizations try to bring peace in Africa? We have some other organizations, United Nation Peace Breakers. They try to bring peace, but now we're kicking them out of the continent because they are breaking the peace in the continent. Who is going to bring peace in your country? You're looking up to the leader, politician, the leader, politician. He ain't going to bring peace to you. So Africans, we must be very careful in 2024, because once they attack your spiritual status, then what's going to happen? What comes next is fear comes in. And if you have a bunch of people who do not fear God, then they're willing to do whatever the heck they want to do for themselves. But what is holding Africa together up to this moment is that you have people who believe in God, who fear God. Whatever the religion they're coming from, but they fear God. They fear God. And because of that, Africa is still holding together. The day we disunite, the day we divide, even the word divide, we welcome devil in, man, and we can't afford to do that. So Africa, be awake, because this is the very critical moment, 2024. It's a very critical moment. And if you don't see that, I pray to God today that may your eyes of your heart be opened and see what is really happening in the spiritual world, because everything that is happening physically is starting inside. Whether you're a spiritual person or you're not, hear me very loud, because one day you remember this, that everything you see is happening from the outside. It is the manifestation of what is happening in the inside. So if you see someone is in the hospital trying to take in medicine, it is because something inside of him or her is not right. Do you understand that? So if you see Africa is bleeding from the outside, it's simply because Africa is bleeding in the inside. And now we see what is happening. Now we can know what is happening inside just by looking from the outside. So if you have faith, if you believe in God, it's the time to back it up. It's the time to pray. It's the time to call upon his name. And it's the time to do that every single moment. And go out, go to work. Go out, go to bust your butt off, and make sure that you work excellently, diligently, effectively, seriously, and bring about change. Whether in your company or whatever you do, we must bring on that excellence in everything that we do. Pray, act, faith, and action. Otherwise, your faith is dead. So I hope in this year, we ain't just going to sit here and complaining about things that are happening in our countries, but we'll take actions to do. We'll speak and we take actions. That's one thing that I wanted to share. And second thing, I came here, I shared with you guys last week. I had a live stream here. I spoke about, specifically, I talk about 10,000 Kenyans who are being exported to different countries outside of Kenya, Saudi Arabia, Canada, and other countries. And I'm here today, and I'm going to come talk about it even more. And I'm going to raise my voice no matter what happens to me. But I'm going to say this again. I share this area about even my own country, Tanzania. There are people that are going to be exported to Saudi Arabia for work. And specifically, ladies. They're going there as nurses to work. That's the only people that need to be exported. It's a big mistake Africa is making right now. One of the biggest mistakes Africa is making is sending Africans outside of the continent to work. It's finding jobs for Africans outside of the continent. It's the biggest mistake. I'll tell you plain and clear. If you want, let me tell you this. If you want your people to have experience and skills, and you want to take them out of your continent, sending them away, while at the same time you have African descendants who were taken long time ago because of slavery. They were brought to their countries there. They have skills, they have knowledge, they became part of that society, part of that community. They became citizens in those communities. And today you're still sending more people to go out there to work for them. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Those people, let me tell you this. These Africans who are going there, they're not going to work in a better position than the local people there. They're going to be slaves out there. But African government, the simple thing you could do is open up the doors for African descendants to come back home with the knowledge, with the skills, with the expertise to bring to the continent to train our people here in the ground. Why you cannot do that? That's the reason why we have a petition of One Africa right now. We are saying that, hey, give One Africa passport to African descendants to come to the continent. They come with skills. They come with companies. They come with knowledge. Our people can be employed and learn from our people that were taking long time ago outside of the continent. It's very simple. It's very easy. This is not complicated thing that you need to take more brain from Africa to bring them to Saudi Arabia, to Canada, to work for the masters there, for colonizers. No. This is ridiculous. You can simply bring our people from the outside, give them land, give them places to sleep, give them access here, change the policies for them to move back in the continent and to work here. Let me tell you this. Even if we say that, okay, not every single one of them, they come with a smart agenda. Some of them, they come with negative agenda. They come with this and this. You know what? I would rather be manipulated with my own people than be manipulated with somebody else. As long as I know this, if I see you that you're my people, all right, okay. I always say this, that I love doing business with my family. Some people, they are scared doing business with their family because they're scared. When it comes to money, family will be separate because of money. Because, man, you have such a low. I don't want to say this, but I don't know. How can you think that? Like, how can you think that small? That's why I said the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. You don't even have a little wisdom. Let me tell you this. Even when you lose your money because of your family, that is the best thing that could ever happen to you. You better lose your money with your family, to your family, than lose your money with some strangers out there. I would rather do business with my family than anyone else. Because if I lose my money, it goes to my blood, it goes to my family, it goes to my people. That's the power of the family. And people say that I cannot do it, family, money issue. No. Come on, just suck it up, man, and just shut up, all right? This is your family you're talking about. Do you understand the value of the family? So let our people come. Yes, they'll come with issues. They'll come with problems. I know some of them are bringing problems here in the continent. I know it. Because some of those people brought problems to me. And now we're not even in a good state because of what he brought to me. Brought issues to me. And I was like, man, I can't believe this guy, he did this to me. But you know what? They're going to bring that. Even as we have our own issues, have our own problem. Let them bring it here. We're going to deal with that perpendicular. We're going to deal with them. All right? We're going to deal with them because they've been here. You might be an African. You've never been here in the continent. But, man, I was born here. I've been here. If you bring some issues, some Western issues, man, I'm going to deal with you face to face. Because I've been here for long enough to know that this land does not allow that. We cannot avoid fights from our family. This is something you can never avoid. There's no such a thing as a perfect family. You can't be looking for someone that you never fight with. You're looking for a wife. Or a husband is like, I'm so glad that we never fought. Man, don't marry that person. Because you're marrying such a masked person and you're going to regret sooner or later. There's no family that is perfect. Family must fight. Family must argue. But you always find a common ground that, you know what, okay, we're family. We know that I'm not going to hold knife against you. We're going to fight. We might not talk for a while, but at the end of the day, be like, hey, you're my brother, man. All right. So whatever the case, all right. I'm learning from this. You're not getting any more money from me. Yes, we need to welcome that. But I don't know who advised these politicians. You can't come to me and say that we're bringing our people because we don't have jobs in the continent. Well, whose problem is that? Not having job is your problem of your government. Why you're not creating jobs? All right. Okay. Okay, you create a job. Okay, I cannot give all the job to everybody. We have a limit. Okay, yes, I understand. Yes, yes. But we have African descendants who have companies, have skills, have ideas. They can actually come in the continent, start companies here and employ our people. But we are making things hard for them. They cannot even come here to stay. They only need to stay for 3 months. They need to go back and then come back in the continent. While these people have skills, they have everything that the continent needs. Why don't you use them to bring in the continent? And instead of our people going outside there to work and they can study here, because we have professors, we have doctors of our people. You know, in the UK, you have more than 13,000 Nigerian doctors. In the US, the same thing. And you go to Nigeria, people are dying because of shortage of doctors. Today in Tanzania, you're bringing nurses to Saudi Arabia, only women to go there to work. Only women to work. While here in the country, you have a lot of hospitals without people, without nurses, without doctors. Why don't you bring those doctors, African doctors, Tanzanian doctors, African doctors that are outside there in our continent to work for our people here and to train our people here in the ground? Why? Is it this like very complicated? Is it like you need a revelation from heaven to understand that? It's very simple. It's a very simple thing to do. Okay, if the entire Africa continent don't want to do that, okay, you as a single country can do it. Open the doors for Tanzanians who are outside the continent. Bring them in. Open the doors for Kenyans. Bring them in. Don't keep bringing our people outside there. They're going to be slaves out there. That's what's going to happen. Some of them, they're going to be slaves. Why do you want women to go there? These are men. I was talking to one of our sisters in Swahili Nation, and I'm saying this with so much heavy heart and very sad that this sister has been talking to me for a long time, but I've been pushing back. This sister have always been telling me one thing. If she's watching here, this is my heart, because she don't know. I did not tell her this, but I'm going to speak here. This sister, for a long time, she has been telling me that where are the men of Africa? Where are the men of Africa? You guys allow Africa to be invaded. You guys allow our countries to be divided. You guys allow all these things happening in our country. Where are the men? She said, I do not have respect for African men anymore, because everything that is happening in Africa is because of African men. They're not standing on the right position to defend this continent. And I was pushing back. Every time she tells me this, I was like, where are the ladies of Africa? Where are African women? Where are you guys? Just want to be married by a white man, by Asian men. Where are they? I was just pushing that just because I'm a man. I was just trying to push that. Hey, no, you guys have responsibility. But I was talking to her yesterday, and it hit me so bad. And I realized that it is true. African men, we must take responsibility. She asked me this. She said, go to the US, go to other countries. If you try to invade those countries, you African, you try to invade those countries, they're going to kill you on the spot. If you try to abuse them, they're gonna kick your ass, man. They're gonna send your ass to jail, and you're never gonna come out. They're gonna do that. They're gonna defend their countries. They're gonna defend their women. They're gonna defend their ladies. They're gonna defend their people. But where are the African men to defend African women? Even these women are leaving, are going. Most of them are working in these countries. Such an awful business. Oh man. Even my come on, just give me a second, because my phone just went off, and I was having really nice breakthrough here, and it just went off. So I need to charge this. Oh my God, I had a lot of people here watching on 50 people watching on TikTok, and my phone just went off. So I'm trying to recharge here and to come back. But think about this. Where are the African men? If you are an African man watching this right now, where are you? What is your role as an African man? What is your role, man? Believe this continent to be, everybody can do whatever they want to our women. Everybody can do whatever they want to our continent. It doesn't matter whether they want or they don't. But we're African men. Where our position? Why we cannot stand on our position to defend this continent? Why we cannot stand on our position to defend our women? Why we cannot change that? Why we cannot do anything about this? Why are we sleeping? Just sleeping. We're just sleeping. We're African men. I'm asking African men. Guys, I'm sorry. My phone just died. We're African men. Shame on all African men. That's including me. Because we're not standing on our seats. We're not defending this continent. We're not defending our families. We're not defending our ladies. Our ladies are struggling in this continent. Our countries are struggling, are being invaded all the time. The only thing that we care right now is fights between Burundi and Rwanda. Okay, we have tension. Rwanda and Congo, we have tension. Tanzania, Kenya, tension. Somalia, Ethiopia, tension. Everywhere, Ethiopia, Egypt, tension. Oh my God. Everywhere is tension. Sudan, Ethiopia, tension. Everywhere is tension. Everywhere, man. Everywhere. We're African men. Yeah, we have a decency to stand and be like, I am an African man. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. That's why now you have men who are women and transgender and everything. Things are just changing every single day because we don't have a position anymore in this community. We don't have a position anymore in this society because you're not standing on our ground to defend this continent, to defend our people, to defend our ladies. African men, we're supposed to defend our ladies with our blood. That's what we're doing back in the days. That's what we're doing in our kingdoms, guys. I'm not talking about the new things. This is what we're doing in our kingdoms back in the days. We're fighting for our ladies, fighting for our women, fighting so much, fighting for our borders, fighting for our countries. But today we are fighting with other men. We're killing one another. When I look at these numbers, some of you guys are commenting the number of people that have been killed in your country, in that country. When I look at these numbers, man, these are our people that have been killing with one another. This is where we are at. This is what we've been struggling with for all this long time. And it has to come to an end. African men has to wake up. We must wake up, man. We must come to our normal sense. We must defend this continent and defend our families. Fight for our families. If you're a man and you don't have a kid, you don't have a wife, you don't have a husband, you don't have a man, you need to fight more than anyone else. Just like me here. You need to fight more than anyone else because, man, this world, this Africa, if you're not going to fight for it, man, our kids, imagine if our kids are going to be born in a society that just allows everything to happen. Today you can wake up and say, I want to be a girl. You be a girl. Okay, go ahead. Be a girl. Oh, I love another boy and you're a boy. Okay, yes. Get married. Yes. It's okay. No, it's not okay. And men, African men must stand. And I'll tell you the truth, man. I'm saying this to African men because we are sleeping. African women are very strong. They're doing more than what we do. They're fighting their asses off to stand for our families. How many single mamas we have in the continent or even outside of the continent? Why? Because men are running away. Okay, we can talk about system. System takes the men away and everything. We talk about that, but some other part, we can talk about that just victimizing ourselves, but we must be honest with ourselves. But the huge part of it, because men, we are cowards. We're cowards, man. We're not doing enough for our people. We're not doing enough for our continent. We're not doing enough for our ladies. And it is a time for us to do something. For our people, for our ladies, for our continent. It is the time. It is the time, man. The day African men stand up, wake up, this continent is never going to be the same again. And that, since yesterday after that conversation, tears were just running down my face. And right now, as I'm saying with sadness, with heavy heart. Tears are running down my heart, crying for African men. And because I am an African man, this is going to be my mission for this year. To work your lab. Because, men, we must come back to our seats. We must defend and protect our families. We must do that. We must fight for our countries. We must put our blood on the line. Be ready to live for Africa. To live for Africa, to live for our families, not die for them. No, live. Because if you die, you're running away from your responsibility. Not willing to die for Africa, guys. I used to say that, but then I realized, why am I talking about death so many times? Maybe I'm attracted to death by the power of the tongue. Maybe I'm attracted by talking about, no, I am willing to live for Africa. I'm willing to live for my family. I'm willing to live for my kids. And I think that is the attitude every African man should have in their brain. That software we must have in our brain. Africa needs strong African men. It needs it because women, they're far away from us. Very strong. Protecting our families, keeping them safe day and night, praying for them. One of the strongest person on earth is African women. Black ladies. I'm giving you flowers, guys. I'm giving you flowers, you ladies. But men, where are you, men? Where are you hiding? And it started a long time ago, man. It started from Adam. Adam, he was told not to eat that fruit. You know the sin of Adam is not about eating the food. God, he already created the food for them to eat. And God tell him that, heck, do not eat that food at the center of the garden. Yeah, let me tell you this. That fruit had nothing to do with anything. But it was just about instruction. The biggest sin Adam committed, it was disobedient to God. And because of the desire of the flesh, he decided to obey someone else. And he ignored God's instruction. That was the biggest sin he did. Disobedient to God. And that disobedience led him to eat the fruit. So most of the things that we struggle with, us as men, is disobedient. And it comes all the way from our father Adam. And we must reclaim our seat back. And we must stand on the position of protecting this continent once again. We must be confident enough and strong and courageous enough to stand in between, defending our families, defending our countries, defending our societies, defending our communities, defending our companies, defending our continent with everything we got. Man, this is your calling, man. This is your call. This is the call for you. If you coward today, you have a chance to change. And I'll tell you this. If you don't have a fear of God, whatever that I'm saying to you, ain't going to do nothing. Because you don't understand your responsibility as a man. Every single man, every single African man, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility. You have a responsibility. If you do not do your responsibility, if you do not work, if you not do what you're supposed to do, I'm telling you, you're going to die. And you'll be running away from your responsibility. Be busy protecting your people, protecting your family, protecting your continent, protecting your country. We must get back to our seats and defend this continent. Because I'm telling you, our ladies are crying for us. They're going through hell because men, we are not standing in our position. I can say this in every single country. I can mention one country after another in the continent. Every country that is going through something, it's because men, they are not standing on their right position. Instead of doing A, they're doing B. Instead of fighting for, you're fighting with. Instead of fighting for the country, you're fighting with your neighbors. For the sake of tribes, for the sake of religions, for the sake of colors, for the sake of whatever this nonsense. It's all nonsense. It's all garbage. It's all bullshit. We're fighting for this. We must fight for and not with. We can't fight with our brothers. We can't fight with our neighbors. We must fight for, man. Is it a difficult message to hear? Are you happy when you see your countries broken down? Are you happy seeing your families broken down? Are you happy seeing the continent of Africa broken down? I said right now, man, there's a scramble for East Africa. East Africa, one of the strongest community in the continent, is falling apart. Guys, it's falling apart. It's just a matter of time. If you do not talk about it, if you do not see it, I'm telling you, East Africa is not going to last. Community is not going to last. It's falling apart. Congo joined, Somalia joined, but it's falling apart. I hear Ethiopia is going to join, but it's falling apart. How can you join two countries that are not even on the same page right now? Somalia, Ethiopia, they're scrambling. Burundi, Rwanda, scrambling. Rwanda, Congo, scrambling. Kenya and the rest of East Africa, scrambling. We just share the news here. I mean, thank God that they renew, but Tanzania stopped Kenyan airlines to come to Tanzania airport from like the date of 20 something January. They say you guys, you're no longer welcome to come here. Why? Because Tanzania wanted to send the Tanzania airline cargo to Kenya, and Kenya Aviation, whatever, they say no, you cannot do it. So because of that, in response, Tanzania also stopped them from coming here. But thank God that today news came that they allowed them to come. That means they already talk, and they resolve the issues. But there's so much tension in the East African community, because this is the community that right now we're looking for to come with a single currency. They already have single army. They have they want to have this political organization that is the same for the entire East African community, and it's a threat. So what is happening right now? There's tension going on inside this East African community. And where are the men? Where are the East African men? Where are you guys at? We talk too much and we act less. We cannot even defend our families and our people and our countries. What do we expect? That will be my passion for this year. We say that 2024 is the year of excellence. My message is going to go direct to African men, because I do believe that if men stand on your position, I'm telling you, issues will be solved. Issues will be solved. I know, man, African women are very obedient. And they do their part already. So what is left is for men to do your part. We ain't doing our part. And we must be honest with ourselves. Some of you all left your families and you're running away. Your issue is just to give pregnancy there, and then you're running away. That's not being responsible. That is being coward. That is not you standing on the position of a man who God created you to be. You are supposed to defend your family, to be there for your family. You're supposed to be a family man. You're supposed not to let that lady out of your sight and make them single mommies struggling with their kids, with their babies, struggling with their lives. Those are your offspring. Those are your blood, the extensions of you, and you're abandoning them. What kind of legacy are you leaving? They're raising a generation, fatherless generation, who eventually, they grow up without fathers, so eventually they can turn out to be anybody else. I mean, when I look at the United States, you see this thing of alphabet and everything. This issue is the big issue there in a black community as well. But I'm telling you, one of the reasons is because of fathers. Yes, the system take the fathers away. We can blame the system. Yes, we can blame the system. Yes, one side we can blame the system. But another side of it, we are responsible. And until we admit that, you're not going to see change. So that's what I'm going to address. If you're going to throw your stones on me, please do so. But I ain't going to stop, because I know the devil's plan and I know God's plan. God's plan is to unite. God's plan is to bring his people together. God's plan is for his people to fear him, to seek him with all. Therefore, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, seek my face, repent their sin, and turn away from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven, I'll heal their land, and I will forgive their sins. That's the promise of God. In the Second Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, condition, who are called by my name will humble themselves, pray, seek my face, repent their sins, and turn away from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven. I will forgive their sins, and I will heal their land. So God's people, Africans, African men, hear me out today and hear the voice of the Lord out and loud. Humble yourself, seek his face, repent to your sins, turn away from your wicked way, and he will hear you, he'll forgive you, and he'll heal your land. That is his promise. And it's a call to all African men. And I know African women, you've been praying for this for a long time. And the time has come. The time has come. We are all on the same team. We must work together and play our part. Ladies, you have your part and your role to play. Men, you have your part and your role to play. If you don't play your role, nobody else can play for you. But what is missing in this equation of Africa is African men. We are sleeping. We are sleeping. And ladies are crying. Are crying. This lady, she is the one I respect so much. And I was just having conversation for almost an hour. And I could hear the disappointment coming from her. Not because she was disappointed with anyone personally. No. She's looking at the situation in Africa. We're talking about the situation in Africa. Most of the time when I have a conversation with these people, we just talk about Africa. And she's disappointed. And for me, I had to reflect on myself. And that disappointment, I did not see it coming from this one person. I saw it coming from all African ladies. And I decided to change. And I said, all right, what can I do better? I'm going to go ahead and do something better than what I've done. So I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do my part. I hope you're going to do your part too. Let me tell you this, men, African men. It's not about just looking good. It's not about sounding good. It's not about having muscles or having money. It's not about that. It's about being responsible. The true man, the true African man is responsible. Must be responsible. First and foremost, for your family. If you're not married, you don't have your single family, for your dad, your mom, your siblings, you must be responsible. That first of all. And second, for your country. But we have men who are not responsible for their family. How can they be trusted for the countries? No. No. It's a crisis. It's a crisis in this continent. Wake up, man. Wake up. Thank God for giving me this new passion, man. Because this year, I'm going to fight a lot with the man. I'm going to fight with you all. Fight with you all. And we must go back to our places. I speak my piece. So, if you just join right now from, X, from Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're live on YouTube, we're live on TikTok, we're live on X, we're live on Instagram. YouTube is Swahili Nation, and all other platforms is Mika Chavala. So we're live there everywhere. Thank you guys for joining. And I hope today's conversation has helped you to figure out some few things and reflect on yourself. And I'm gonna come back. I really want to talk in detail about the scramble of East Africa right now and what is going on in the continent, particularly East Africa. And it doesn't matter about East Africa community, but East Africa in general. That means all the way from Ethiopia and all these East African countries. I'm gonna come to have a conversation about that. Also, I'm gonna come to have a conversation about Africans sending Africans outside of the continent for work. I'm gonna build on that these days to come. So just stay there. Make sure you like, you follow, you tune in, turn on notification button so that when you go live, you'll be informed. And join us and just figure this thing out together. All right, we can't do this on our own. We need to figure this thing out together. And in the meantime, if you did not register for One Africa right now petition, go through the link on my bio here on TikTok or on YouTube in the description. Everywhere, if you go there, you click that link, it will lead you to the petition. So read the petition, sign the petition, and share the petition. We need One Africa right now as soon as possible. all in all, I appreciate you guys for joining. Thank you for speaking out. Renee, I appreciate you for being there. You've been there loud and clear. And I appreciate the team, Marit, Reggie, for being there. I appreciate other people who joined a long time ago and who are still joining right now. Appreciate. And TikTok, appreciate. You guys are my people. And I appreciate for coming along today. I did not even write the title of this live stream, so I don't know why a lot of you guys tune in today. But I guess today is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. You guys showed up today, so that's peace. All right, so I'm gonna let go of my people first on YouTube, X, and Instagram. And I'm just going to raise a word of prayer and let you guys go. And then I'll finish with you guys here on TikTok. All right? Just hang on a little bit. God, I thank you for today's conversation. I started to have a conversation with my brother Kwame and their organization, ACUP. And I just ended up wrapping up with all these issues about African men and the continent and everything else. God, I thank you for today, for this year, for this month, and for days to come. Open our eyes and our hearts to know exactly what you're calling us to do. Most importantly, we want to raise a generation that will be responsible for their families, for their people, for their countries, so that we may break out from where we are today. We believe in the progress, we believe in the change, we believe in the improvement and development. And we know that, God, you have trusted us with everything we need. Everything we need. We do not need anything else from anybody else, but you have already given us everything we need to bring about that change. So I am ready, and I've been here, and I am here. This year, once again, use me. I'm ready to be used by you, and I'm ready to do what I'm called to do. So that at the end of this year, we'll celebrate and appreciate you for all you've done throughout the year. And those who are watching right now, following this live, this stream, I know some of you, you've called them, some of you, you've given them passion to work for day and night. God, I pray that you strengthen them, give them wisdom, determination, discipline in whatever they do, so that as we work from different angles, different organizations, different visions, different goals, but we'll always meet together because we want the same thing, and that is prosperity and change for this beautiful continent. I give you glory and honor. Everything that has happened here today, you receive the glory. In the precious name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Amen. So I'm going to let you go, guys, from YouTube, X, and Instagram. I appreciate, and I'll see you guys next time. God bless and love you. If you want to support, we have PayPal, we have Patreon, we have memberships. All those links are in the description. You can go there and you can support however you want. PayPal once, Patreon every month, membership every month, Super Chat once, Super Stickers once. You can do that and you'll be appreciated. So I appreciate, guys. Peace. I'll see you.